Welcome, everybody, to the Single Dad Project, where we're building better lives one project at a time. My name is Henry. Over there is PJ, producer Jay. You can't hear him, but I can. I want to give you a foundation of why we're doing this. PJ and I have been friends for a long time, and we were talking about this idea of doing a podcast recently. The thing that you guys don't know, if you don't know us, is we actually started this podcast thing way back in 2004, way before anybody knew what podcasts were. Back in those days, PJ and I were into making videos, music videos, documentaries, short films. We had a film festival going on at that time. And during one of the film festivals, I had asked people, the filmmakers that were part of our film festival, if they wanted to be on a podcast. They didn't know what the heck I was talking about at the time. And PJ was one of my guests. So we were pioneers. We just didn't stick with it. So here we are again, 20 some odd years later, and knocking it out. The podcast is located in the Chicagoland area. I won't say where specifically right now, but I want to give you guys an idea of where we're coming from, because I think when you watch a show, you get a certain flavor, and I think that flavor is also regional, like where people are coming from. Obviously, we're in the States. The format of the show is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be once a week. Both PJ and I work our butts off, so we are making some time during the week to do this. And the format is basically going to be 6 5-minute segments. The segments are going to be things that I've put in my calendar over the years, things that I wanted to work on. So I would have it in my calendar, like one day of the week was spiritual. The next day of the week was relational. So I'm going to give you the 6: spiritual, relational, intellectual, physical, financial, and business. Those are the things that I would work on over the years to try and improve myself. And these segments are going to be broken down in little 5-minute chunks so that we can share ideas. Hopefully you guys who watch this as a community kind of throw in your input, and we go back and forth to try to better ourselves as single dads. I'm a single dad, have been since 2010. There's a lot of ups and downs with that situation in life. I know some single dads that are struggling, have been struggling for a long time. And I know single dads that have become very prosperous with their finances, with relationships. I know single dads that were struggling that are now married and have great families and things like that. So one of the ideas for the show is to build a community of single dads and try to help each other, lift each other up, basically. That's the purpose. That's kind of where I want to go with this. One of the things that I did in my life, in my past life, was I was a personal trainer. And one of the things I found that was helpful to people that I was training was accountability. More than anything, as far as like doing exercises and whatnot, any monkey can teach you how to do that. What I think helped my clients go beyond just the exercise was the accountability, having somebody there that was going to support them. And so this is something that I want to build inside of this community. Inside of this show is finding a way for all of us to level up. And I think the best way to do that is to have accountability. So this being the first show, I don't have all the ideas. PJ and I don't have all the ideas, but I think as time goes on, ideas will come that will help us build a community and get better at what we want to be as fathers, as single dads. With that being said, there's inside of those 6 segments that I mentioned earlier, the spiritual, the relational, the business, and all that kind of stuff, there's 3 spheres or 3 circles that I'm going to concentrate on when I talk about these topics. The first core sphere is you, and if you've been around any kind of like personal development circles, you'll hear this kind of stuff talked about. So like the first sphere is you. You're the person that you should focus on. Outside of that sphere is usually friends, family. In this case, single dads is your kids. That's the focus that I want to keep. And then outside of that sphere is your community, your society, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So you'll hear me talk about those kinds of things. And really, this is just the foundation, the first show, just to kind of let you guys know what's going on, what we're going to do, who we are, where we're from, basic stuff, pretty simple things. The show, we're looking at doing roughly 45 minutes because each 5-minute segment is going to have its own little time. In the future, I plan on interviewing single dads that I know that are excelling in those categories of the segments that I was talking about. Like I know single dads who are business owners that are very successful now. When I met them, they weren't so successful. So those kinds of things we'll have in the future as far as interviews and things like that. But like I said, just to go back, the segments, what I'm looking to do is have 2 segments, and then we'll do a little break, another 2 segments, little break, and then another 2 segments, and then we'll be out for the show. The segments will start in this order. I'm trying to keep them like kind of like how I see things. One will be, the first segment will be spiritual. I don't know what anybody's religion is. I don't really have religion. I don't go to church all the time, anything like that, but I believe in a higher power, and I think it all starts there. From there, it'll be relational. Like I said, it's more about who you are. What relationship do you have with you? I think that's a good starting point for, especially if you're in the situation of being a single dad. You got a lot of stuff coming at you. This is the relationship you got to focus on. I know a lot of single dads that are married, go through a divorce, and then right away they're jumping into the next relationship. And I think with a woman, and I think that's a mistake. Personally, it's my own opinion. I think you got to focus on yourself, then your kids, and then the female. It's kind of like I wrote down. I'm looking at PJ right now. I wrote down I think I have the quote in here, the Tony Montana quote.
This country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
So, I don't have anything to say about his character. He was a bad guy in the movie.
You know what I'm talking about, you fucking cockroach.
But when I first heard that, I was like, dude is speaking truth. And in this case, with the relationship thing that I'm talking about with the segments is, start with you, focus on your kids, that's the next level, and then focus on the women. So kind of going back to the Tony Montana quote, that was pretty funny. The third segment will be intellectual. Like, what are you feeding your brain? What's going on the daily? What is your community, the community that you're a part of, like, what do they talk about? And obviously, like, you want to kind of have a fingerprint on what's going on in the world. Especially nowadays, you want to have an understanding of what the hell's going on, but it all starts with you. And I was explaining this to PJ earlier. On the physical side, obviously it starts with your body. How do you take care of your body? What are you doing? Feed it, move it, things like that. Outside of that sphere is what is your location like, your apartment, if you're living in an apartment, your home, your immediate space. Like, what is that physical space to you? Is it, I had a place last year. I just moved out of my apartment in the city for, I can't tell you how many years, 10, I think it was 10-ish, not even, maybe 8 years or so. I was living with roommates. After my divorce, I had roommates, and it was cool. Rent was cheap. But at some point I'm like, man, I need my own damn space. And I finally got a 2-bedroom apartment in the city that my close circle of friends, I used to tell them, I'm like, this is my little castle. Because for a long time I was sharing space with other people. And at some point, I just want my own space. So on the physical, it starts with your body, but the sphere outside of that is like, what is your location like? What do you want it to be? And then obviously the bigger sphere is like community, your city that you live in. Do you live by the mountains? Do you live by the beach? I mentioned earlier, we're here in Chicago. One of my little plans is when my kid goes off to college is to move to the beach. I want to be closer to the water. I mean, we have the lake out here, but it's fucking cold. And so I just want something warm. So you go on to think about those things. And then the last two on my little segment list here is financial. Financial is you, like, what are you doing with your money? I know there's a friend of mine who's actually used to be one of my supervisors at work. Younger kid, made more money than me because he was my boss, but was struggling financially. And one of the things that we talked about was like, I said to him, I'm like, what are you spending your money on? Like, you make more money than me, but you're struggling with the money. Like, what are you spending it on? And one of the things I told him, and we'll talk about this in the show, is like, a lot of us don't think about our own personal budgets. Like, what are we spending on? How much? I used to tell him, how much are you costing you? Like, figure that out. And I said to him, I'm willing to bet if you put your rent down, your phone bill down, your car note, all that stuff, you're not spending more than $3,000. And he went home one night after work, came back the next day, and he was telling me, like, I can't believe like how close you were to the truth. So he's basically spending $2,800 a month and struggling, making way more than that. So start with your money, start with you. The second sphere for me, and I'll bring on people that are way financially smarter than I am, but this is just how I look at it. It's like the second sphere is like, what's your input and output? How's your money coming in? Like, is it income? Is it a business? Is it a side gig? What are you doing? Selling stuff? And how's it going out? What are you spending your money on? After that, the way I look at it, the last sphere is contribution. PJ was just telling me about a YouTuber that he watches that held you said it was a marathon charity-a-thon or kind of something like that, where he was streaming for I don't know how long to raise $1 million. Things like that is important to do. Obviously, you want to get to a place where you feel comfortable doing something like that. Most people don't feel like they have enough money to give. And so those are the little lessons I've learned over the years is you want to take care of you and your money, figure out what's coming in, what's going out, and find a way to contribute. And then the last one is business. Robert Kiyosaki has this little chart of being an employee, going through the chart as a small business owner, and then a big business owner, and then an investor. So for these three spheres, I look at it as like, if you're starting out in business and you don't know what you're doing, you're kind of on that solo path. You're a solopreneur. Once you generate some income and you grow, most people in the category become small business owners. Now they're hiring people, they got more overhead, things like that. And then on the last sphere, or how I'm looking at it, how I want to eventually talk about these subjects in the show is like, one of the things that Tony Robbins talks about is when small business owners are working their business, they're basically the employee of the business. And the small business owners that graduate from that level, it's a mindset shift. They become operators. So they're not tied to the business. They're like making all the decisions, but they have other people that are managing all the everyday stuff. So these 6 segments are going to be broken down into little 5-minute chunks so that if you're watching the show, and I'm sure we can do this, right, PJ? We could put like little time stamps on the video. So if you want to skip ahead, if you're like I don't like what he's talking about, like the intellectual, but I'm jiving with what he's talking about on the physical. Let me just jump ahead to the physical. Like, I'm pretty sure we could do that in the video, the timestamps, but they're going to be 5-minute little chunks so that they're manageable. And like I said earlier, if we're building this community, then one of the ideas that we have is to do like little challenges. When I was a trainer, and people wanted to train with me, but I didn't want to do the training anymore. I'm like, okay, this is what we'll do. Back when doing challenges on Facebook was a popular thing, I would have people come into a group, and that was the accountability group, or that's where the accountability thing comes from. But then I would have people do challenges, do 10 push-ups for the week. And I always look at doing the simple things, because if you can do the simple things, you can string that to do the harder things. And especially on the physical side, if you haven't worked out for a while, this is just my trainer hat coming back on. I used to tell people, it's like you're trying to push a train down the tracks. At first, it's not really going to move that much. But the more effort that you put into it, the stronger that you get, the slower eventually that train will start to move slowly. And so these little 5-minute chunks is we want to keep in a way where we can talk about stuff, but also inside of those topics, what are the little challenges that we can do to improve our lives as single dads? Like I said, just on the physical, just something that's coming off the top of my head right now is like, most guys are busting their ass working. I know guys that are working 2 full-time jobs right now, and they're overweight, they're not taking care of their bodies. But what's the little thing that they could do to help move them in that direction? And something as simple as walking. I told people all the time, I'm like, you don't have time to exercise, you don't have time to do this, walk around your block once or twice a day. Little things like that is what I want to incorporate into the show, give you guys ideas on little steps that you can do to improve your lives as a single dad, and kind of go from there. We don't have anybody, this is all recorded, so there's nothing coming at me like any questions or anything like that. So one of the things that I want to also do is invite you guys in the show or watching the show, if you have, especially if you're a single dad and you have a story to share, write it into us. Let us know, like, what are you doing on the spiritual side? What are you doing on the relationship side? What are you doing on the intellectual side? What are you doing on the physical side? What are you doing with your finances to improve? Are you running a business as a single dad? Share those stories with us so that we can share them on the show, and other people watching it can benefit from your experience and your knowledge and your insight. Obviously, if you got questions and stuff, I'm no expert, but if there's something, I've been on this earth for about 50 years now. So if there's something that I can help you with, like I was helping my supervisor at work with his money problems, I think when he was asking me, he was 29. So this is a couple of years ago. I got 30 years on him or 20 years on him that could help him reduce that gap faster, right? And it's just all basically all it is knowledge. So that's all we're doing here. Eventually, we'll find ways to interact with the viewers and stuff and make it fun. But I just wanted to give you guys on this first little episode, a rundown of like, this is the foundation, this is what we want to work on, and hopefully this is what you can expect. That's basically what it is. So I'm at like 20 minutes time here. PJ, you got anything to add?
No.
We're good?
We're good.
All right, so this is Henry. Hopefully got a little bit out of this. And next week we'll be back for a full-on show, 40 minutes, little bite-sized chunks. And actually thought about this on the way here. I got a little giveaway that I'll do on that second show, so it'll be cool. Again, this is Henry. Peace. Have a good day, guys.